profit from a meeting with a well-connected hedge fund manager.
Hi, Michael Fanzetti.
Hi,
I'm
Mr.
Robert
Hackney.
Hackney.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you are. Lewis told me you wanted to learn a little something about who owns America.
That's right.
Oh, I'm looking forward to showing that to you. So we're just going to take a little wander through the Bloomberg Information Service. They've gone so far with Bloomberg that now we're going to have to use a biometric device, and it will confirm that I am an authorized Bloomberg subscriber. In terms of looking at who owns America, what we'll do on our Bloomberg, we'll ask who are the holders of GE, who owns GE. We see Citigroup, Mellon Bank, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank. It looks like all the banks own GE. We can scroll through GE forever, and we're very unlikely to find the name of a human being. They're holding on behalf of millions and millions of people who are invested in index funds. In the diffuse ownership structure that's grown up from pension plans, retirement plans, and mutual funds, the shareholdings of most American corporations are really widely diffused across a broad spectrum of America. I mean, that's really the story. Oh my goodness. Are my security people at lunch? Hello, Doug.
Hello.
Mark, this is Doug Henwood.
Hi.
He's
Hello.
a
Nice to meet you.
well-known economic commentator.
Well, ownership, it appears to be very dispersed. As the New York Stock Exchange loves to say, everybody has a share of America. But in fact, behind all these bank names are really a small group of rich people, rich institutions that essentially run the economy, and the rest of us are just spectators.
I would contrast ownership in 1950 with ownership today. And you tell me, has it not spread?
Well, actually, if anything, we're a little more concentrated now than we were in 1950. We're back at sort of 1929 levels of concentration. You have to start this history in the 1970s, when the period of great inflation, the U.S. had lost the Vietnam War. There were wildcat strikes. The Third World was in broad rebellion. From the point of view of the American elite, elites in general, but the American elite in particular, it looked like things were spinning out of control.
It's just so you can see how the stock market performed. That was sort of the bottom.
So there was this great rightward move in politics. We saw the ascension of Paul Volcker at the Federal Reserve in 1979, the same year that Margaret Thatcher took power in Britain. Then we had Reagan take the presidency a couple of years later. And what they launched was a very successful class war from above. A very big crackdown on labor, union busting, paring back the welfare state. And at the same time, Wall Street was making its contribution to things. Their shareholders, who had been kind of sleeping for the previous several decades, awoke and started demanding much higher profits and much leaner and meaner ways of running corporate America. And August 1982 is when the bull market started.
Here's August 1982. We go from roughly 100 on the S&P to roughly 350.
That was based on a correct assumption that the class war had turned, that the elites were back in control, a period of rebellion in the Third World had been put down, and profits started rising. The profitability of American companies rose with some interruption pretty steadily from 1982 to 1997. That was the portion, I think, that was really the stock market and the financial markets in general were reacting rationally. But then the froth took over, and then the madness and the irrationality took over.
Why? As a handsome young banker in waiting, Jack would be expected to count the ways in which a society arranges the division of the spoils.
My name is John Perkins. I was an economic hitman.
The tricks are as old as Aristotle, and usually they require the assistance of the police.
We'll arrange a deal between a third world country and the big banks like the World Bank or the IMF.
You know, Mussolini once said that fascism should be more properly called corporatism, since it is the merger of corporate and state power.
One of the conditions of the loan is that the majority of it, 90%, will come back to U.S. corporations, like the ones we've all heard of, Halliburton, Bechtel.
Nationalism. Nationalism. Last refuge of small and impoverished countries without a well-developed tourist trade.
And these companies then will build big infrastructure projects that primarily serve the very wealthy in these third world countries.
The free market.
The people who question its omniscience belong to weird religious sects.
The country then is saddled with this tremendous debt that it can't possibly repay.
Hi, would you like to read an article about what's wrong with globalization?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Civil liberties.
Civil liberties. Extremely expensive, far too numerous.
You go off one side,
Out of here. Let's go.
God damn it.
So when we want the resources from that country, like oil, we'll go back and say, look, you guys borrowed all this money from us. You can't repay your debts. Therefore, you have to sell your oil to our oil companies at very cheap prices.
Jack was beginning to see that banks stand with the status quo and that protest puppets float on the tide of social change. What he didn't yet know was whether to cast his lot with the weight of things as they are or with the hope of things as they might become.